Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
All right, welcome to episode 112. Laura left me high and dry again, so hosting solo, but we're joined by April Gadsby and Amy Pancake. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah,
Cool.
Thank you.
So you both competed recently, so I figured we'd just do kind of a quick reflections, meet, recap of how things went. So we'll start with April. Actually, let's do this. April, who are you? Why don't you tell everybody?
I'm so used to doing this with a professional introduction. No one cares what my job is, but
Well, you can do let's do that. Do the professional introduction, because I don't know that I know the professional April.
okay. I'm a mathematical statistician for the U.S. Department of Transportation in the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, and I got a PhD in transportation engineering about a year ago. And other than powerlifting, I like to bike and play with my cat and crochet and read.
All right, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. I like that. So you lifted at the Valhalla Awaits meet 2 weeks ago, and you went 7 for 9. You hit a 120 squat, which is a 10 kilo PR. You hit a 72.5 kilo bench, was a 2.5 kilo PR, and then you hit a 132.5 kilo deadlift, which was a 5 kilo PR. Total 325 kilos, which was a 17.5 kilo total PR, which is huge. Rating it from 1 being terrible to 10 being amazing. How was Amy as your handler?
10.
Okay. Now, if I mute her headphones, what is the rating?
I'd still give her a 10. Zero complaints.
Cool. So I guess you guys just want to kind of talk about how the meet went, because that was, again, I wasn't there. Amy kind of handled the handling, and April, you had a pretty good meet. So just curious how that interaction was.
I thought it went really well. I mean, I really wanted that 300-pound deadlift, so that I missed that was upsetting. But I mean, it's hard to be upset when you hit PRs and everything. And it was quite an experience, being like the last lifter in the rounds, and like having someone raise their final deadlift so that they could beat my total was not something that I ever thought someone would do. So that was, I don't know, that experience of actually feeling competitive makes me a little more excited to go harder in the future. So I think that was a pretty good outcome of it. And I think I would not have been able to do as well without Amy there, because I was like pretty nervous since I had that injury like a month before. I can't believe that I went 3 for 3 on squats after that. But yeah, she really calmed my nerves. She was just great to have around.
So Amy, scale of 1 to 10, how high maintenance was April as a lifter you had to handle? 1 being
Like 0. She is not high maintenance at all.
So 1 being super high maintenance and 10 being really easy to handle. You said 0?
No. Super easygoing. She's very quiet. I would also say sort of her energy is very easy to read. So that was fun. And the couple of times that I've handled, I've been really observant of people's energy, just to kind of feel that out, to see kind of what they are telling me that they want without telling me that they want.
That's the real reason that when people are lifting, I listen to their headphones when they hand them to me, to kind of get the vibe. One, it's curiosity what they're listening to, but I like to kind of feel out the vibe of what they're listening to kind of, I don't know if it works or not.
I remember like my second meet, Colin Coppell did that to me, and he handed me my headphones back, and he's like, Stevie Nicks. He's like, your third deadlift and you're listening to Stevie Nicks. What the heck?
That's a good segue. April, what do you listen to if you listen to music, I guess? Do you listen to stuff when you train and or when you compete?
Yes, it's like my favorite musician. Well, I don't listen to Jason Mraz when I'm lifting, but like outside of it, that would be my favorite musician, except that he has really fallen off lately. But
Well, so who?
so
Jason.
Jason Mraz. I'm very Californian, but I guess when I'm lifting, I listen to like things with strong beats, so a lot of like electronic, but also like rock stuff. Um, I don't know. I just pulled up my big lifts playlist that I have. It's got Adam Jensen, Jade, Zade Wolf. I don't really know any of these people. They just ended up here. Sam Tinez. I don't know. I don't have any attachment to these people, but that is what's on my list for when I need to pump up for big lift.
Gotta say, I don't know who any of those are. I also, and maybe Amy, you don't even know this. I listen to techno as well. So like I'm a big 80s rock guy, but I do have a good amount of techno that I listen to when I'm training and stuff.
I did not know that.
I got little nuggets I keep to let out of the bag every now and then. So I guess overall, like, is there anything you would change about how your meet went? Well, I mean, obviously, I think you'd probably say make all your attempts, right? But I mean, just overall, like prep wise or anything.
I mean, ideally, I don't injure myself a month out. Otherwise, I feel like I maybe gave up on my last deadlift attempt before I really had failed. And it bothers me that I feel like I could have given that a little bit more. And so it irritates me more that I don't feel like I gave it my all than that I failed at that lift. So if I were to do it again, I think I would keep pulling a little bit longer.
That's a good thing to talk about, I guess. So just from like a meet experience, I mean, one, have you ever had have you ever had that happen where you failed a lift and then afterwards was like, I could have actually done that if I would have tried harder? Or is this like the first time that's ever happened?
I think this is the first time that's happened.
Yeah. So I've heard this from a lot of people before, the same scenario, and it's a lot of times that's kind of like the light bulb that goes off that, you know, you kind of, I guess, gauge what you can actually do. And after the fact, you're like, you know what? I probably could have kept going with that. And you're just not used to pushing yourself quite that hard sometimes. And sometimes that's like the catalyst for really getting to that next level. So yay for that. Yay for regret. No, but overall, I think you had a really good meet. Like I was really happy with the numbers you hit. And like I said, going forward, I think, you know, you always got to try to take something away from good meets or bad meets. Just when you go into a lift in the future, like give it everything you have and don't be afraid to fail. I mean, you might, but it's much worse to walk away knowing you could have done better or you could have tried harder or something. So not to rub salt in the wound there, but Amy, overall handling, like thoughts on the meet, thoughts on environment, how April did, things like that.
I thought she did great. I could tell she was getting a little nervous for that last one. And I think from my observation, I saw her set up slightly different. Nothing overtly, you know, that I could correct her on, but just some little minute movements that I saw were a little different. I don't know if it was rushed or, and that happens when when you're nervous and you think you're moving slowly, but you're really moving quickly, and just some little things like that I kind of saw. But I thought she did phenomenal, and she seems very calm on the outside. I could see a little bit of it on the inside, getting a little nervous, but I thought she did an amazing job. And that is a great feeling when you're the last puller, the last squatter, and you're like, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's probably another takeaway from the meet, April, is, you know, we know third attempts are going to be the heaviest that we've done in a meet. And sometimes that mind starts kicking in and you do change little things unknowingly, just instinctively, just because your mind is going. So, you know, being aware of that and, you know, trying to manage that going forward, I think would be, you know, something to It's more than just like sets and reps on a sheet, right? There's all these mental aspects. There's all these, managing nerves. Amy was handling you. Amy never handled you before. So it's just like, there's a lot of different variables, but still trying to control what you can control. And that's another takeaway, I think, to work on and be better for.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know that had happened, but it's good to know moving forward.
Yeah.
I think I told April the story too, that back like maybe my second year of competing, and I think it was one of the state meets, maybe my first equipped state meet, and I squatted before Lee Webb, and to me that was like, and she was the last one in the flight, and to me that was like such a defining moment in my powerlifting career. Like, I'm the next to the last squatter, and I squatted right before Lee. I have accomplished something.
I've made it.
I've made it.
All right. Amy, you just competed this past weekend at Carolina Primetime. You went 8 for 9. You hit 3 PRs total, squat and bench, and your deadlift was just under 5 kilos, or 5 kilos under your PR. Do you want to talk through the experience, how things played out, or
Sure.
overall? Start with this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with the way the meet went?
Overall, I'm going to say a 9. And the only reason I don't go to a 10 is because so on my bench, I sort of talked Josh into like going a little more conservative. I bombed at bench at nationals, which totally just rocked my whole world with the confidence. So I was a little bit scared about that. So on the third, I just wanted to get my benches. For an equipped meet, I'd never gone more than 1 for 3. So to go 3 for 3 was pretty cool. But I kind of wish that I hadn't done that. Not that it really would have made a difference in the outcome. But I mean, overall, just for little things like that, I mean, I think it went wonderful. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that's the biggest takeaway, like I think we can deal with that. But there's two sides to look at it. Like, say we didn't go conservative, and maybe you get your third and it's hard, or you miss your third and you only get your second, or in this scenario you blew up your third real fast and it was easy, and you leave the meet thinking, holy shit, I could do a lot more. I mean, in some ways, like if it didn't change the outcome, it's almost best case scenario. So Amy, you hit a 175 kilo squat, which was a 4.5 kilo PR and also an American record. You hit a 100 kilo bench, which was a 2.5 kilo bench PR, and a 165 kilo deadlift, which was 5 kilos under your PR. And your third pull was 182.5, which was 402. You missed that one.
Oh, let me add something real quick about that deadlift. I was kind of reanalyzing things, and I'm like, I was kind of bummed that my overall ending deadlift number wasn't higher, but we did what we did because of, you'll explain all that. But when I was looking at things, like my second attempt deadlift was not far under what my third attempt was at my last meet, and it flew like very fast. When I started thinking in those terms, I was like, wow, that in itself is such progress. So I just wanted to throw that in.
I agree. And, I ask both of your inputs on this. So like, I'm torn on how to approach things sometimes with people, because I don't know, like for like using myself as an example, if it's up to me, like, let's say I need like a 30 kilo PR deadlift to place or to win, and there's like a 2% chance I'm going to make it. I want it put on the bar. Like I want the opportunity to try it, like knowing full well, like I might miss. I don't typically do that with my lifters. That's a little irresponsible, but in this scenario, like, we came in, Amy, planning to hit a 177.5 third. which was 391. That was kind of what we trained for. That's kind of what we were planning for. But the reason we didn't do that, and there's two things at play here. If we had gone 177.5 on a third attempt, that would have been the exact number you needed to break the American record total by 2.5 kilos. But the reason that we elected to go up to 182.5 is because you were competing head to head with Kathy Mealy. And, we kind of talked about it ahead of time, like records are going to be broken over time. Like, I think that's the thing that, and this is the two Joshes in my ear on each side saying different things. Like part of me wants to, take the more conservative number, the exact number we had trained for, which would give you the American record total. But that would also be conceding first place in the competition because that was not enough to move into first. Or we put on the number that we know is what we need to move into first and, figuring, hey, we got nothing to lose, put it on and let's see what happens. And, if it's an unrealistic number that you have no business trying, I'm not going to do that. Right. This was a number that I thought like you had a real shot at it. We didn't make it, but again, that was the talk we had ahead of time. Like, hey, let's just see what happens. Let's go for it. And I, as a coach, have no regrets on that. Like, I thought you had a great meet. Like I loved just the way you handled yourself and the confidence and all those things. And I think that's going to set you up well in the future. So I had some people asking why we put on more than we needed. And I guess what that means is that actually, if you're just looking at the total, that would have given you a 457.5 kilo total, which was well over the American record and also 5 kilos more than what Kathy ended up totaling. So looking at the totals, it was more than you needed, but because it was by dots, Kathy being lighter, you actually needed to total significantly more in order to beat her by dots. So that's why we did that. Again, it's all about, in certain situations, it's playing the game. We can go conservative, and this is where, again, it just depends on where you're at. Like some people, when they're newer lifters or, just maybe had a couple string of bad meets, like they need to build momentum and make attempts and, end on a good note. And some people would take missing their third lift after going 8 for 8 on the day up to that point as, oh, I ended on a bad note. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as you had a good enough meet that we were in a position to be competitive with a lifter that's won a world championship, has the American record and just broke her American record. And we actually were taking a shot at the win there. So I think you've come a long way. Both of you have come a long way. It's been fun for me as a coach. Like I feel like I live vicariously through you guys because all these scenarios are so fun for me. Like I sat out in the parking lot, like doing all the math on Amy's last, like on her deadlifts, like if we do this, then this, if we do this, then this, and just like geeking out. I feel like mathematician April would have enjoyed that.
Oh yeah. I think so too.
Does sound like my sort of thing.
So yeah. I feel like you might need to become one of the meet day handlers for us, and you can help with all the numbers. Like I'm serious. I get so excited with numbers, but I'm not a mathematician. So like, that's your deal. Like that's your jam. I feel like you would just you would flourish.
Yeah. Sounds promising.
Cool.
Yeah. I have to agree. Like I have zero regrets about that. And I think if I had been the same lifter I was a year ago, I probably would have ended on oh my God, I missed that last one. I suck. I failed. I blah, 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 blah. And it's such a different mindset in the lifter I am today, because I mean, although one meet is important, I think that the progress is even more important, and we all know it's there, and, it's coming, and I'm getting better, not only stronger, but I'm also getting better with the way that I compete, not just in the strength that I have, but in being able to mentally sort of handle myself So that was really for me what the big win was for yesterday. Like I felt like I really stayed, in my element. And I I watched the live stream back and like my mouth is moving and I'm like, I was talking to myself like the whole time.
I noticed
going
that.
far. Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen you do that. But I
Yeah.
think it worked.
I kept saying the word. I'll share what I was saying. I with consistency, that's been my thing, is just repeating everything that I do in the gym, is being able to just reproduce that. And, when we get nervous, our breath gets shallow, our body tenses, and, not only do we feel it, but it can affect the way that our body moves and the way that our muscles work. And I kept telling myself, this is repeatable. And that's what I'm saying. This is repeatable. Just repeat this. And I was just telling myself, and really taking some deep breaths and counting. Like Adam actually helped me kind of develop this like counting system where I stood in front of the bench. That was 1. I laid down on the bench, found my hands. That was 2. And everything was very systematic. So I was counting and saying, this is repeatable to myself.
I think that's awesome. I think that's huge. I kind of wish you didn't share that with everybody else publicly. We keep that to ourselves.
Yeah. You have to edit that out. Shared my secret.
Yeah, we'll keep it in. You just have to make up another secret that's like completely not true to counterbalance that one. So
you don't know if I'm really telling the truth, I guess. So
yeah. So the other thing that you did that was really the key was like you walked on gravel barefoot for 30 minutes before weigh-ins, and that's what really helped you focus.
Right. It took off that extra kilo too. I think Josh and Stacy had a bet about my weigh-in weight, right?
Oh yeah, we did. So my bet was that you were at least a pound underweight, and she said that you were going to be less than a pound underweight, and you were more than a pound underweight. So I won the bet. Yeah. We didn't set parameters though. We should have actually made it a legit bet. I could have got something out of that. Anyway, all right, let's get to know you two better. Start with April. Why did you start powerlifting?
So I was on the cycling team at Georgia Tech, and I was like, I want to lose weight so I can go uphill faster and it takes less energy. So I joined this like group training weight loss program at the gym on campus. And they paired me with a personal trainer who was really passionate about getting people under a barbell. So she taught me how to squat. And then I decided that it felt way cooler to put more weight on the bar and like focus on strength than losing weight. And I didn't go back to the cycling team. I joined the powerlifting team instead.
A great choice, I might add. Amy, how about you?
So I had sort of lifted weights kind of, in the gym, just like the typical Globo gym, all through my 30s. And I started doing CrossFit after we moved to this area. And I did it for about a year, just, to get healthier and, lose some weight and blah, blah, blah. And I was always the strongest person in the entire class, the slowest, but the strongest. And, being the competitive person that I am, I'm like, okay, it kind of led me to, to something where I could sort of focus on strength. Plus it felt really empowering to me to be really strong. But what led me to Josh is, so I have a friend who our daughters were in school together at the time. And I was sort of Googling powerlifting in Georgia and, I knew nothing about it. And it took me to the powerlifting, the USAPL state meet from a few years ago. And I saw my friend's picture on the on the cover page for the state meet. I'm like, what? So I just sent him a quick text. I'm like, is this right? Is this you on this page? And so then we got into this conversation about it. And he's like, oh yeah, I trained. And then he gave me Josh's name, and the rest is history.
I keep forgetting Colin's the one that
Yeah.
got you started. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start with we'll go backwards. We'll start with Amy this time. What do you hope to accomplish as a lifter?
Oh gosh. Like one big thing, or like overall goals, or what?
I don't know. I purposely leave these very vague because I'm not that
Okay.
creative.
I definitely have, tangible numbers in mind that I want to accomplish. I have records that I want to accomplish. And I have to say that when I first started lifting and competing, that is pretty much all that I thought there was to it. But I have learned that, especially I think in the last year, that this really teaches you so much more about competing and about yourself and about life. And I know this sounds cliche, but you can learn so much about yourself by putting yourself into those competitive situations and really committing to doing your best, and committing to what you're working towards. And I think I've actually enjoyed learning all of that about myself as much as I've enjoyed, hitting those PRs. PRs are still the most important, but I will have to say that all of this other stuff that I didn't know that kind of came along with it, is just been the icing on the cake. But I think I lost track of the question, but the question was my goal. But
I'm not sure I remember the question, to be honest. Oh, it was what do you hope to accomplish in powerlifting, I think.
I hope that I think I made a post today that one thing I really noticed about just observing the last 24 hours is that people are watching, and whether that be your friends, your kids, your family, your coworkers, people are watching you, how you behave, how you perform, how you carry yourself. And my number one is just to be all I can be and a good example for all those people. I have the most amazing picture of both my kids like sacked out on the couch, with my picture up on the screen, from the live stream, and the messages that I've gotten, about, oh my gosh, this was amazing. And I don't know, that I feel like I've accomplished that, and that is just the best feeling ever. So I just want to keep doing that.
April.
I don't know that I have a specific goal, because when I set goals, I can be a little too intense and get really upset if I miss them, like unreasonably so. But I just really enjoy lifting, so I'm just kind of curious to see like how far I can get. So kind of that. I mean, you recently mentioned, what was it, the 365 total? So that's my current interest. I think I'd like to see that. I also, just kind of similar to what Amy was saying, I really enjoy being in the gym and then having like women who are kind of interested in powerlifting come up and talk to me and like encouraging them. I always find that really fun. There weren't any women around when I was starting out, but there's a lot more at the gym now, which I don't know why that happened in the last like 4 years. But and then I don't know what else. I think it would be interesting to be a ref one day. But yeah.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. I'm really big on giving back to the sport, and it's coming up on time that I would start pushing you to be a ref. So you beat me to it, but it's out there now. It's public, so you will at some point fairly soon will be taking your state referee exam, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
She's like, oh shit, that really took a turn. But yeah, I think No, I do. I think it's important to get more involved, especially if it's something you want to continue to do, because it just gives you a different perspective on the sport. And again, going back to even, talking with other women at the gym about how to get into it that might be a little bit curious. Like that's another resource you would have as a referee, is you'd be able to answer a lot more questions in detail. Lifters should know the rules in and out, but a lot of times they don't. But when you become a referee, you have to go through the rule book and all those things, and you really learn the ins and outs of the sport. So it makes you a better resource for people as well. So yeah, I like that. So let me summarize what I hear. So April's goals are to total 365, become a state referee, recruit a bunch of women into the sport of powerlifting and mentor them and get them to become referees and have a whole team of lifters. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. That's what I heard. That's what we're going to say. Nice. So here's a general question. What do you think is the barrier for a lot of people like getting into the sport? And either one of you can start. It's just an open-ended question. I know there's a lot of people that talk about it, and there's a lot of people that like comment like, wow, that's really cool. I wish I could do that. Well, the reality is you can. Like, I think that's maybe a misconception people have, is like you have to be at a certain level or a certain age, or I'm too old, or women don't lift weights, or whatever it is. There's a lot of those stigmas going around for some reason. So what do you think is a big barrier that a lot of people have? And part two, how do we fix that?
I think that people think that they have to lift a certain amount of weight or before they compete, or they have to be at a certain level before they compete. I thought that when I was wanting to do a meet. I remember looking up, I mean, God, what do people even lift? I have no idea, and that seems like such a silly question now. But it's really on people's minds. And I've heard people have asked me that, like, well, what should I be able to lift before I enter my first meet? And I'm like, the bar? I don't know. Anything you want. And I think it's just intimidating to a lot of people. I mean, I was intimidated. It took me probably 3 months to even get the courage to face Josh Rohr.
And now you're like, man, this guy's just a big goober.
No, I'm like, what was I afraid of? Yeah, I think it can be intimidating, and yeah, weights are loud, powerlifters are loud, clanging, and I think it's just a intimidation. And also, like, asking yourself that you have the ability to put that kind of effort into something. I mean, it takes a lot of, if you're going to be a competitor or a serious competitor, it takes a lot of effort if that's what you want. It doesn't have to, but if you want to compete, it does take a lot. And I think that's hard for people to reconcile. You're busy, you have a family, you have a job, you have a life, and it's a lot of work.
I've seen a lot of the same of Amy. Like I've talked to guys at the gym who are lifting a lot of weight, and they're like, yeah, I don't think it's enough. I don't want to compete unless I know that I would podium. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's the way to do it. I mean, I joined the Georgia Tech powerlifting team, and I maybe squatted 1 plate. So I made it to collegiate nationals by the end of that year. And also when I first started out, like if I didn't have that personal trainer, I was always like, oh, this is the boys part of the gym. Like I felt like everyone was staring at me because I was like the woman in the squat rack, and it felt really strange to me. Now that there's more women lifting, like I think the more women you see doing that, the like less of that, oh, that's the boys zone that people would experience. But I don't really know how to convince people that, other than just telling them that you don't really need to lift a lot of weight in order to compete, and telling them all the benefits of competing. But I don't really know how to get around that other aspect of it.
Well, I think you answered part of it inadvertently. You just said seeing more people in the squat rack, and now it's not like it's the guys part of the gym. It's just becoming, somebody in the squat rack. I mean, that's pretty much literally what you just said. I think that's a pretty good answer. Yeah. I think just, exposure and having more people doing it, and I guess making that I guess, available and visible to people too, which I hate social media as a general rule, but that has been a good thing. I think it's exposed a lot of people to the sport, or at least versions of the sport that's on social media. So maybe that's been a good thing, but I don't know. All right. You each come up with a question for yourselves.
I have a question. So what keeps you going and continuing to participate in powerlifting, compete in powerlifting, training? Like, what's your motivation and what really keeps you going?
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll answer while you think. Guess I better have an answer then, huh? So my motivation, I would say part of it is I'm definitely one that likes to chase to be better. So, and if you look back on my, my meets, I mean, for the most part, everyone it's just a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And, if you look from 1 to 1, you may not see a huge increase, but if you look over the past, 3 years, it's definitely been a pretty significant increase. I think my first meet, I squatted like 198 or something. I mean, my personality is like, I like something to strive for, and I like to chase something that's better than me. And I also like committing myself to something. So this is way better than therapy. So I kind of like, yeah. So that's kind of what keeps, and I'd say the community, like, I mean, you cannot beat the powerlifting community. I mean, you go to a meet in South Carolina, in Las Vegas, in Columbus, Ohio, and it's like you see these same people. You may not have seen them since last year or 6 months ago, but you see these same people, and they're, always so positive, and I just love that community and meeting new people. I meet new people at every meet I go, and you keep in touch with them, and I just love that.
I don't know if I've gotten to know the community well enough yet. I need to meet more people. Like, I think when I was at the Georgia Tech team, I met them, but I don't think I met many others. But it was fun at the meet to get to meet you and a few of the other women. That was cool.
Yeah.
I guess lifting is like, if I don't exercise, it's not very good for my mental health. And so it's nice. It's like, it's an inherent thing. It's like, if I skip it for too long, I need to go back. I mean, I enjoy it. And I know even when like I'm not enjoying it, that I will enjoy it again. I'm pretty patient with that sort of thing. So there's that. And there are people at the gym that I talk to that may not be competitive powerlifters, but they're nice to be around, and like they're there and they'll call me out if I don't show up. There was something else that I was going to say, but I've completely lost it. But I guess I don't ask myself, am I going to go to the gym today? I just wake up and know that I'm going to go to the gym on these days, and that keeps it going. Yeah, that wasn't very inspiring or anything, but there you go.
That was good. I'm just glad somebody else forgot the question other than me. So I want to finish with this. We drove up to Carolina Primetime together. It was like a 2.5 hour drive each way. And we were talking quite a bit. And one of the things that came up was, I guess, the level that you were motivated yourself, but also like how much, I guess, pushing and critiquing and really pushing you from an outside person, like a coach, like, where's that balance? I guess just as a, one example was like, there's been lifters that I've coached in the past that, got to a pretty high level, and, you get to a high level, like you got to work harder to keep making progress and keep pushing on. And, that's kind of been my mindset as a coach, like, let's get you to the next level, keep leveling up. And sometimes it becomes very much a job. It becomes very much like sometimes too much. And I just kind of wonder, like, I guess I'm asking you just as a general, like, how do I know as a coach, like when I'm pushing too much, when I need to step back, and when and you could think from your own perspective or just, other people, I don't know, because not everybody. So I guess it's double-edged sword. Like, if you get to a certain level, maybe that was your goal to get to that level. Well, then it's like, well, you're still like not reaching you haven't reached your potential yet. Like, let's keep going. And maybe some inside, you're just like, oh, it's ran its course. Like I've gotten out of it what I wanted to numbers wise. And, a lot of times I only look at it as like, okay, here's where you can still go. And maybe I'm missing like, something there. So, this is just the conversation I think needs to be had with more often with people. And I'm just curious, like, one, if you would say something, first of all, like if I'm just like pushing too hard as a coach, and two, some people have even said in the past, like they almost felt like they were letting me down because they weren't as excited or as committed to doing those extra things to get to that next level, and felt like they didn't belong because that wasn't really what they wanted. So I don't know. I just think it was just an interesting, thought-provoking question or conversation that we had. Where's the line? And I'm sure it all comes back to communication, but I've just never, I don't know. It just got me thinking, and I'm just curious what you guys think on that.
No, I think it's really important that if that's the way you feel, you have to communicate that with your coach. But me personally, like I want to be pushed because I want to know that I'm working as hard as I should be and hard as I can. And I don't know that I've always done that in the past. Like I've always worked hard, but I don't know if I've always worked as hard as I could. I for me personally, I kind of need that. Like, okay, you need to work a little bit harder, and
I guess maybe let me rephrase it a little bit. Like, I don't think just point blank, I don't think there's anybody really that I'm coaching that's really not working hard. I think that would be I think it's like the amount of, I don't know even how to say it. Like, all right, Amy, like your last set of squats at the gym, like you really didn't put enough effort. Like you really need to make sure you lock in every single set. And if I'm just always like hounding those things over and over and over, like that becomes a lot. So is that too much? Is it? And I know everybody's different. So like some people thrive on that. Like some people are just like, dude, like I'm just here to lift. Like just let me lift for like 10 seconds. Like just get out of my shit.
Well, if you jump up and down in the background like you did on that third squat yesterday, then that you can say what you want when I'm training.
Yeah.
That makes it worth it.
I'm still walking that off. I'm feeling it. I guess, I don't know. And maybe this is just more, conversation we've got to continue to have with people. So from my standpoint, like I want everybody to be the best version they can be, and whatever that looks like. If they, if somebody wants to, compete, but they're not really interested in getting to the regional or national level, that's fine. Like, and some people, I mean, quite honestly, there's people that they're not going to ever be a national champion or whatever. That's just, they have other things going on. And sometimes it's important to be honest about that, and it's okay. And you can still progress. But if your goal is to get as good as you can be, I'm going to push you because that's what it takes to get to that to get to your potential. So she had told me that when she came to me, she felt like she wasn't being pushed enough from her old coach. That's why she came to train with me. And she said, like up front, like, yeah, I need you to push me hard. Like I want to get as good as I can get. I need you to push me. And I did. And she said that it was not exactly what she was expecting. Like she started hating it and she almost stopped lifting because I was just on her so much about, fixing every little detail, like just on her about these things. Fast forward now, a couple years later, I did luckily kind of back off a little bit just because I could tell she was just getting frustrated. And, once you start getting frustrated and things like that, you start spinning your wheels, and just kind of gave her some slack, and she, started improving. And now fast forward a couple years later, like I find that the way I talk to her and things like that is a lot more similar to how we started, but it's a completely different reception on her end and how she takes those things and how it motivates her, I guess. So that's the balancing act for me, is like figuring out where people are, because that scenario when she first started was not the answer at the time. That seems to be kind of what's her jive now. I always think about that. And I always am worried that people don't want to say stuff to me because they don't want to feel like they're not working hard enough, or me think that they're not working hard enough or whatever. And that's definitely not the case. I'll ask you, April, like, what do you think? Because like you and I actually don't train in person together. I mean, I coach you remotely, even though you're 10 minutes away. But if I was just like always like, do this better, you need to do this better, you need to make sure you're sleeping better at this time, like, how would you handle that? Would it become so that you said something earlier that was actually really key? Like you said, it's still fun for you. So like, at what point does it become like an obligation versus fun? Like it's got to be still fun to some degree, or why the hell are you even doing it? Right.
We haven't gotten to the point where I would have to really seriously think about that, but I think I would probably tell you, because I'm a rather direct person. And the more I get to know you, probably the easier it would be for me to tell you. So it would probably be easier if I actually came to your gym, which like maybe one day, but the in-person training is in the middle of my workday. So I have thought about taking a Wednesday off so I could come out, but
that's the next level of pushing somebody. I'm like, okay, well, it's time for you to quit your job so you can train.
But yeah, I mean, I think it would be easier if I knew you better, like in person, and we could read each other better. Because when you're just doing it over like videos and text, it's a little harder to get that read. I mean, I don't think you maybe could push me harder. I don't know.
And so, I used to, with people, just start out right out of the gates, like, all right, full steam ahead, we're going to do this. And I found that not to be the best option, because usually it's definitely easier to like push somebody harder versus like trying to correct like me having caused them to hate lifting and not enjoy it. It's easier to go the other way.
I'm glad you did that, actually, because I'm very shy, and sending someone videos of me lifting was very uncomfortable for me. Like every time I'd be like, ugh, every time I sent it. It's like better now. So I can like handle the feedback and not feel so like embarrassed. So like I just take it, it's feedback now. But when I had like no experience with you, it was uncomfortable for me at first.
See, that's interesting too. Like I never knew that. Like I never knew it was uncomfortable. That's something I actually just never even thought about, is when I give feedback on videos and things like that, how people might take it. Because I guess I get it, thinking about it from my own standpoint. Like if I started a different sport, I'm just something I don't know anything about, and I get a coach and they start, let's say take bowling. I get a bowling coach. I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know why I picked bowling. And, they're saying, well, you need to make sure you step with your right foot first or kick your left foot out. I don't know anything about bowling, obviously. I don't know why I picked it. Like I could see how that would be like, you just feel like you're being judged and critiqued and nitpicked almost. And that's not my intent. It's really just to make you better, but maybe doing a better job of explaining why we're doing those might have been beneficial on my part.
Perhaps. I don't know if it would have helped it for me, but I knew it was worth it to like handle it, but taking feedback is always a little challenging at first, especially from someone you don't know that well. But I think your feedback was good. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoy being coached by you. So
glad to hear that. No, and I'll say this too. Like I do genuinely, everybody on our team. I really enjoy working with both of you. And I think, I think it's important. Like if there's somebody I don't enjoy working with, it's like, it's almost the same boat as like, if you don't enjoy lifting, why are you still doing it? And, I'm not a good fit for everybody. Like, let's be honest, like not many people can put up with my shit. so yeah, I think, finding somebody that you kind of can get along with and trust, I think is important. And it goes both ways. So I will say this, because I'm not very good at it. Like I am very proud of both of you. Like I do enjoy working with you both, and I am really happy with how you guys are progressing. And I'm glad to hear that you both are still enjoying the sport, and I haven't ruined that for you, but there's still time.
I have to say, the only time I've ever had like really thoughts about, oh my God, I just don't want to do this anymore, was immediately after nationals. I I never like said it out loud, and you probably kind of gathered
I heard
some of that.
I heard it.
Yeah, because Josh really pushed me into doing another meet. So this Carolina Primetime was pretty quick turnaround from nationals. I mean, not super fast, but more than what I normally compete in a year. You heard it. I don't know that I said it out loud, but I was just defeated, like super defeated.
I hate to like use all of, our team's failures as examples, but a lot of times, like, I think that's what people need, because I mean, just, okay, where you're at now, like you came back and had a really good meet afterwards. Like, had you quit after that meet, then that sits with you, like it beat you.
Yeah.
And that's, I just think that there's always the fear of failure. I think it's okay to fail. If you bomb out of your meet, you miss weight, like, yeah, those things are unfortunate. Maybe could have been avoided, but like, if you go into every meet worried about those things, like you're not able to really let loose and have fun and really just kind of focus on the lifting. And that's, again, comes back to like, that was what we fell in love with, was the actual lifting.
And at the time, it's like the last thing you want to hear someone say is, oh, you learn from failure. I mean, we all know that realistically.
Yeah, but shut up right now. I don't want to hear
that.
But
my God, no, I refuse to believe that. Like, no, this is not a good thing. This is, this is horrible. I never want to feel like this again. I never want to feel like this much of a failure. But I can honestly say, I think in the last 3 or 4 months, I've learned more than just about the, preparing myself for competition. I've learned more than I did, the first 3 years. So yes, the answer is yes. Failure is a good thing. Only if you take what you can from it. Like, don't let it go to waste. Take what you can from it.
Agreed. Cool. That's all I have. Is there anything else that either of you want to talk about, complain about, anything? You can criticize me publicly if you want. This is your chance. It doesn't happen often. I'm opening the door. All right. Well, seeing no complaints. That wraps up episode 112. Thank you guys for joining. If you're on social media, if you're not, that's okay. But if you're on social media, where could people follow you, April?
If they try to follow me, they should give me like a note that they saw me on here, because I have to approve them. So it's @great_Gadsby, but with a D instead of a T.
I love that.
You
name,
got to use that up. So that's my Instagram.
Mine is Amy J Pancake.
Awesome. And also, if anybody's interested in joining the team, we are actually doing a discount right now through the end of the year with the referral code from one of our lifters. So it's not a blanket discount. You have to actually get a referral from one of our lifters, and you two have referral codes. I think you are aware of that. Do you know what yours are off the top of your head? Do you guys want to tell people and they can maybe use them, or do you want me to have to tell you what they are?
I look it up.
Yeah, I don't know what it is right now.
Awesome. Okay. So if you want a 15% discount for your first 3 months of training with Team Roar, you can use discount code April15 for April's discount code. She'll also get a little kickback from that, so you can help her out. And Amy's, yours is what?
Amy 15, yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
Oh
no. Yours is Pancake 15. Good try though. Okay. I suppose confident. We would. I know you leaned in. So you can't be afraid to fail. You leaned in and went for it.
Nope.
Very good.
Master of failure.
All right. Well, thank you two for joining. I enjoy these talks. I think we're going to try to do this more often with, some of our team, just have people on and just kind of basically just have a conversation and record it, and maybe people listen, maybe they don't, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I would like to do this again at some point. You're both like, I'm good. I had enough of this. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @PL Ballads Podcast, and shoot us an email if you have any questions, comments, concerns at plballadspodcast@gmail.com. We'll catch you guys next week. Later.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.